Welcome to the EdTech Throwdown. Join us, Eric Geis and Nick Johnson, as we dive into today's best EdTech tools, tips, and practices. We do the research so you can teach your class. Remember to follow us on social media like Instagram, X, or Facebook by looking for the handle @EdTech Throwdown. Now please enjoy the show.
Welcome to the EdTech Throwdown. This is episode 218 called 12 Months of Impact, the Ultimate Student Engagement Roadmap. In this episode, we'll talk about Heritage and Awareness Month celebrations as the driving force behind meaningful and engaging lessons. Make your projects timely and more impactful with these creative ideas. This is another episode you don't want to miss. Check it out.
Right back, episode 218. We are in summer vacation. We are thrilled to be in summer vacation, but we are also thrilled to talk about 12 months of impact, the ultimate student engagement roadmap.
Yeah, so this actually came from, I'll just do the backstory part for this. I was clicking around in Canva a few weeks ago for one of the classes that we co-teach together, where the kids are primarily working in Canva, doing little projects and design challenges. And Canva's cool because they actually post these competitions all the time, right? Where it's like, I don't know, in March, everybody give us your best Spotify album cover and submit it, and they pick winners. It's like a cool thing for kids to do. You can find those if you go in there. But I saw one because April, apparently, is National Poetry Month. You guys know how like every month has like a ton of different, it's the national month of this and this and this, and there's like a bunch of them. And they did a competition where you could choose a poem of your choice, and then you had to like make a design around that poem, basically like illustrate the poem. And you send them into Canva, and they do what they do, and they pick the winners, right? And I was like, oh, that's super cool. I didn't bring it to our class because unfortunately we missed the deadline for it, but I wanted to. And then that got me thinking about how cool it would be for like a larger theme or a larger just thing to pay attention to as an educator, for a way to make learning and projects specifically more fun and more timely and more impactful if they related to something that was actually happening on a national level. So that's where all these projects came from. We put together a list of all the different, Heritage Months, sometimes they're called, Awareness Months, sometimes they're called. Now, we did have to pick and choose because, choose any month. There's a bunch of different options. So sometimes we went with, the big, well-known ones. So for February, obviously, I went Black History Month, but obviously, because we only did one per month, we had to leave some out, and we mean no shade by that. Obviously, often it was just like a random choice or whatever we thought, whatever project idea popped into our head. So please don't take offense to our selections. They mean nothing. But mostly just wanted to get people thinking about this as a cool way to tie a project into one of these month-long celebrations. I also, at the beginning, wanted to offer like a general tip to teachers is anytime you're in a month, and if you want to do something like this, first you want to search what it's the month of, because we're only, we just randomly chose one as an idea, but any given month has a bunch of these. So you could choose the one that best fits your content area. Also, the competitions around this are super cool. We didn't actually bring any of those to today's episode, but like I shared with this Canva Illustrate a Poem competition for National Poetry Month, so cool. And I did notice that a lot of these month celebrations, they have competitions out there. So if you don't mind having your kids compete, you could say to the whole class, like, hey guys, this is what we're going to do for the class project, but also this is a real nationwide competition, so this is due by April 12th, and we all got to submit our designs. I think that gets really fun. It obviously makes whatever you're doing in class not just seem real, it makes it actually real. So I just think it could be a good way to get buy-in from students.
Yeah, anytime you could bring connections into the classroom, I definitely think, and especially if, depending on what you chose, there's an avenue where you can learn about your students in that classroom. Like, for example, if a certain month was National Alzheimer's Month, well, I have strong connections with that with my family. And maybe they could share about it, and you can learn a little bit about their passions and stuff. So as we go through each month, I'm going to bring up some of the alternate things that we could have chose for those months, just to throw some light out there and maybe spark some ideas in the listeners' heads in case they want to choose something different. But before we do that, let's take a second and hear from our partners over at the Teach Better Podcast Network.
This podcast is a proud member of the Teach Better Podcast Network. Better today, better tomorrow, and the podcast to get you there. You can find out more at teachbetter.com/podcasts. Now let's get back to the episode.
All right, so we're back for segment 2. We're going to start going through these months, and we excluded July and August because obviously most of us are not in the classroom, so it seems silly to even bother with those. So even though the episode is called 12 Months of Impact, we're actually just going to do 10. As we said at the beginning, I just want to reemphasize there was no thought process behind these at all. So for the month of September, we went with Hispanic Heritage Month, which is actually September 15th to October 15th. But for all the national months that we are leaving out, we apologize and mean nothing by it.
Yeah, and I'm going to list a couple here just to throw some more out. But under the health and wellness category of National Suicide Prevention Month, Prostate Cancer Awareness Month, Gynecologic Cancer Awareness Month, Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month. In culture and identity, you have National Hispanic Heritage Month, which is what we chose for this one. And for society and education, you have National Literacy Month and National Wilderness Month.
See what I'm talking about? And that's what was so cool about this is like whatever your content area is, you could choose one of those to go with. Okay, so were you to choose Hispanic Heritage Month, you could do this project that we were calling the Mosaic of Many Lands, where you assign students either in groups or individually or pairs or whatever you want to do, give them different countries around the world from, whatever regions would apply to a Hispanic heritage. And then each student or group has to make a travel brochure for that country. And that by itself is nothing special. But what I think is cool and what could make this work in a cross-content kind of way is asking them to tailor it not just for travel to Spain or travel to Ecuador. The brochure needs to focus on a specific aspect of that country. So food, music, and traditions would be the most obvious ones if you're just looking at culture. But, I'm a chemistry teacher. I could ask, that the brochure focus on some scientific aspect. Maybe what are the scientific contributions from Ecuador or from Spain or whatever. And you could, substitute in whatever the content area is there. I think to make it more interesting and applicable. Obviously, for each of these, we wanted to bring in some sort of a tech extension to, tie in what our show is supposed to be about. And I hate to do this because we do it so often, but if you're having kids make brochures, why you would use anything other than Canva is beyond me. So I went Canva for this one just because it would make it so easy because of all the great templates they have for stuff like this.
Yeah, I love the way that you're tailoring it to your class, and I think that's the most important thing here. I doubt that every subject area is going to do this, but you could easily do it, and each student can have one big project if you were all in tune with everybody in your school.
For sure.
So that is a great project. The next one is October. We chose National Arts and Humanities Month. Some of the other options that we could do, there's National Breast Cancer Awareness Month, Health Literacy Month, National ADHD Awareness Month, so I'd be connected with that one. Some family ties there. Societal and Safety, you have Domestic Violence Awareness Month, National Cybersecurity Awareness Month, so maybe we're bringing in some cybersecurity stuff there. And it's also National Bully Prevention Month. Cults in Arts is National Arts and Humanities Month, which is what I believe you chose for this one. So I'm going to let you go ahead and go over the project that you decided for that.
Yeah, so if you were to do National Arts and Humanities Month, we call this project the Community Story Walk, which is something that's come up before on our show. And I did it again because obviously it fits well with this month, and there's just a lot of cool directions you could take it. So for this, it's sort of like the classic collaborative story, right? Where each person or each group or pair, like however you want to set it up, each subset of students contributes a different piece of the larger story, depending on the grade level. You could have that just be like one sentence, one paragraph, one page of the story. And that's fun for the kids, right? Because you end up with some like wacky meandering story. Depending what you teach in the grade level, you might also want to require an illustration go along with that, something else besides just writing the sentence or writing the paragraph. This is open, so the topic of the story could fit with like whatever the curriculum is that you're teaching, which we tried to do with these. And then you get this final product that is, this page-by-page thing. What I think my favorite part of the extension here is the final story, and this is why I called it the Community Story Walk. We wanted to actually like put these out into the school community and posting them. Like for us, it would be along, there's this like fence along the front of the school. So if you had a way to display the different pieces of the story and those illustrations along that fence, or if you want to keep it indoors along a hallway. So it's not just confined to the classroom and the kids turning it in, but other people in the larger community can see this story. They walk along it, they read the different pieces of that thing, which I thought would be particularly cool. The tech side of this, there's several of them, but I brought in, it's called Boom Writer, and that's a good way to help technology actually coordinate the putting together of the different pieces of the story. This is what Boom Writer does, and if you haven't tried it before, it does a lot of things, but one of the main ones is these collaborative stories where each student or student group pulls in like a different piece of the story, and it kind of helps to facilitate all that. So it seemed crazy not to mention Boom Writer here as the tech extension, but we thought that would be a good way to tie in something fun, creative, different, brings in the larger school community at the end for the National Arts and Humanities Month.
Yeah, I like this one. I'm going to throw out a couple more pieces of EdTech that might be able to help with like the pre-writing of that, and that would be storyboard that. So you can go in and you can kind of do a pre-writing exercise with your students in storyboard that, and then hand that out so everyone can kind of work on their piece at the same time. Another one that would fit into this one is also Book Creator. Book Creator can help with the process as well if you wanted to turn it into a book. So those are two that I would suggest with those, especially storyboard that for the like getting organized piece. All right, let's hop into November. Some of the possible November topics for culture and history, which is what we went with here, is National Native American Heritage Month. Health and Wellness is National Diabetes Month, Lung Cancer Awareness Month, Movember, which I know I've participated in. I don't grow facial hair that well, especially the mustache, so that's usually what I go with because the best way to get a conversation is to look ridiculous.
Yep, that's right.
So I have done that a lot. I think next year might go with the Fu Manchu there for Movember.
That'd be cool.
We'll see. Or the lamb chops. And then we have Pancreatic Cancer Awareness Month. In Family and Society, it's National Adoption Month, National Family Caregivers Month. So we'll go with culture and history here with National Native American Heritage Month.
And for the project, we're calling it the Land Acknowledgement and Ecology Map. This is one of my favorite ones on the list. The beginning is pretty simple and standard for like an elementary school curriculum, at least here like in New Jersey and Pennsylvania. I'm assuming everywhere, where students research whatever tribe is indigenous to the area that you live in or where the school is at. So that's the first part, but what they're actually doing and creating here is a larger map. And for me, I like things that bring the kind of the whole class together. Like everybody's working individually on their own piece, but then it comes together in some larger thing. So I was picturing like a very large physical map where we put together a bunch of huge pieces of like roll paper and actually draw and create this map together. But you could make it tech, you could do whatever you want, but we create a map as a class that focuses on specific natural landmarks. And this is what I think is so cool about it. Like if there's a major river, like for us, we have the Delaware River that flows right through where we teach. But whatever that is, plant life, animal life, whatever is important to that area and was important to the indigenous peoples from it, geological features, if there's certain, like, I don't know, mountains in the area that held a specific significance. Maybe those features are still there. Maybe they've been changed in some important way that allows them to not be as important as they used to be, or kind of, taken advantage of. All those different things, those landmarks added onto the map and then explained and commented on, and the information gets added there for people to see. I like it because it sort of connects the history of the area to the environmental issues that might go along with those natural landmarks, like what has happened with the Delaware River today. Does it serve the same function as it used to for indigenous peoples? Probably not, just because of how drastically the environment has changed. But that's kind of what this thing could all be about. I think that makes this work in a lot of different class areas, and you can scale this thing up or down depending on the grade level too. For the tech side, besides just making a tech-driven map, which I think that's going to be another future episode, because I did see there's lots of cool websites that are about map making, and it was kind of a separate little rabbit hole. But if you did make a large physical map to be posted somewhere in the school, you could make it interactive, kind of like when you go to a museum now, there's little QR codes at a lot of the different exhibits, and you scan them with your phone and you can hear a little narration. You can make your map interactive, where each student's part that they fill out has a QR code to a little audio recording of the students talking about whatever they've added to that map. So essentially built-in audio narrations will be a cool tech add-on to this.
Yeah, I love this project because of the different ways that you can present the information that they're looking up. And I think another EdTech tool that I would bring into this conversation is ThingLink, and it's an oldie but a goodie. ThingLink allows you to take an image or a PDF and annotate it and connect links and videos and pictures and all that good stuff to it. So as they hover over a part on that map, there'll be a little icon that they place there, and that icon is linked to information, pictures, videos, whatever that you want to add onto there. You could pretty much connect it to that icon within ThingLink, and I think that is one that we should definitely bring up here. I know we used this a lot back in the day, and we kind of got away from it, but it is up to date, it's relevant, and it's ready to go.
Yep.
So that is November. Let's get into December. Here are a couple of the different topics, national topics for health and society. You have National Impaired Driving Prevention Month, human rights. You have Universal Human Rights Month, and global observances, tie-ins with World AIDS Day, which is December 1st, and International Volunteer Day, which is December 5th.
All right, good things to choose from there. We went with Universal Human Rights Month, which of all these, I've never heard of that. I think it's because December, everyone at least in the United States and of certain backgrounds is focused on, the holiday season. But it's out there, man. Universal Human Rights Month. We're going to do for this one the Kindness Advent Calendar, can sort of tie into at least some of the holiday traditions that your student population might be taking part in. This one's pretty simple, so we'll go through it faster. But you break your kids up into groups, and you do like an advent calendar does, where there's this countdown each day, a new thing. So you have to maybe start this earlier than December so that the kids have time to prepare, at least for the earlier parts. But each day of the month, counting down to the end of the year, reveals a small, no-cost act of service that people can take part in. For example, it's just something simple like, all right, today, the picture of the student group gets up in the class and says, today's advent calendar is to write a thank you note to the custodian, and then the whole class does that thing. Then the next day, the student group gets up for their presentation. Today's thing is to invite someone new to sit with you at some point today, and then we're going to regroup at the end and talk about that experience, whatever it is. So like each day throughout the month is one of these things. It would be a real simple, low prep, maybe almost like no prep for the teacher, because I don't even know how much prep time you would need to give the students for this, for how simple it is. They really just need an idea. You might have to facilitate to make sure there's no doubles and everybody's doing something different, right? But you can think about that. I did think it would be cool, though, almost as at the end of it or through January, once people are back in school after winter break, if the students were also required to film some of these acts, like film them being done. If you're doing the thank you notes, film some of the writing of the notes, hold the camera over the note itself so we could read some of the notes, and then later sort of compile them into a larger thing that maybe the school could even share out on their social media or the website or whatever they do, keeping in line with all the school's privacy policies, of course, to make sure that the students being featured are allowed to be, obviously, because they're minors. But it might be a neat way to, besides linking it to Universal Human Rights Month, and besides the fact that they're doing real, actual acts of kindness, to then know that there's going to be this digital version that gets shared out later could be a neat tech extension for that.
Yeah, for sure. And if you're looking for an easy video platform to do this on, if you're a Google school, there's Google Vids. That's very easy to use. It's not as advanced as some of the other ones, but it's getting better. Canva Video is getting a lot better. It's pretty close to the capabilities of WeVideo, and WeVideo is the last one if you have that subscription or if you are good holding it under the 5-minute mark. All right, so that is December. Let's get into January. Here are some of the different things you could choose from. Health and wellness, you have National Blood Donor Month, Mental Wellness Month, Cervical Cancer Awareness Month, Social and Awareness, you have National Human Trafficking Prevention Month, National Slavery and Human Trafficking Prevention Month, and Lifestyle, you have National Hobby Month, such as Dry January, where it came from, and Alcohol-Free Month is a couple of examples that were given. So take it away with January.
All right, we're going to go with an idea for National Mentoring Month. This project is called the Advice Exchange. You're going to pair up students in your class with someone from a different grade level, older or younger, and the actual project is to make a survival guide for them in whatever current grade that they're in, almost like a letter to my future self, but ideally sharing it with somebody else, somebody different. Or if you're at the high school level, this could be, my AP Chem kids could make a AP Chemistry survival guide that you would then hand to the incoming group of students next time around. This is sort of like a classic school project that I just wanted to highlight again for January because it fits in with National Mentoring Month. The tech extension here, it's a bit of a stretch, but I just noticed this would be a place where it would work well. And also we're, deep in talks right now to try to figure out how to educate students about AI and its limitations and ethical issues there. This would be a cool place to turn, sort of turnkey in some AI ethics stuff, because in particular, these things that the students are creating are geared specifically for your school and the teachers in it. And this is a place where AI would not work very well because AI has got access to like literal mountains of information, but probably doesn't have very unique, like niche stuff about you and your class and what it's like, right? So it's not going to know that. So if it's not going to know that, it might make some things up that aren't true. And I tested this just to kind of see. I had Gemini make like a survival guide for Mr. Johnson's AP chemistry class, and it did it. But obviously, because it doesn't know my class, it said a bunch of things that are false about it. And I was like, oh, this would be a cool place to highlight that aspect of AI for students. So I don't know, you'd have to think about whether that's going to make sense in your class or not, but would be a convenient time to almost guarantee at least, that the AI output would have what you want students to see. In this case, being those hallucinations. The AIs are getting pretty good, so sometimes it's hard to replicate that. And this is one spot where you could be pretty safe that it's going to hallucinate some false stuff, and you can have the students notice that and talk about it. So that was our idea for January's National Mentoring Month.
Instead of giving you a piece of EdTech that I would use with this, I'm going to give you an alternate thing here. And I love the National Mentoring Month as a selection topic, and I love the idea of giving advice to someone younger or giving advice to my future self. And part of that future self thing, I think that just lends itself to making a time capsule. And for some reason, I've done this in the past. I have ninth graders do something for me, and then I keep it for 4 years, and then I give it to them before they graduate, and they always love that. All right, and the amount that they change over that 4-year period, most of them don't even remember doing it, but they love seeing what they wrote about, and they seem to take it very seriously. So I would strongly, consider that time capsule there. February. Some of the possible topics for February. For lifestyle and science, we have National Coding Month. So I know that there's a lot of like the Day of Code and stuff like that. Library Lovers Month. And Health and Wellness is the American Heart Month, National Cancer Prevention Month, Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month. And for culture and history, it's Black History Month.
Yep. So we went with the big one here, Black History Month. This is this project we called the Unsung Heroes Podcast, and this can be a quick one because it is exactly what it sounds like. Students research a figure that is not typically featured in standard textbooks. Ideally, not Martin Luther King Jr. Obviously, there's nothing wrong with that, but to sort of really stretch the limits of this and make it different. Inventors that they haven't heard of, maybe local community leaders or lesser known artists. And really simply, they have to record a 2-minute podcast or a segment of a podcast, or if you don't want to call it a podcast, just like a spot, like a radio spot, like a quick little PSA interlude kind of a thing on that person. Since you're doing an audio recording here, let's keep video out of it. But and you mentioned this once already, Google Vids is the new-ish kind of Google's way to push into the video editing space. But they have a podcasting. I don't know what you want to call it, but when you go to Google Vids, you'll see like one of the options right there is audio recording, separating out the video because they know that a lot of teachers are going to be using it for this purpose. Super easy, almost no training is needed. So something like Google Vids will be perfect for a quick little podcast recording project.
Yeah, and there are a lot of different ways that you can record and host your podcast. So you could check out Anchor, that is now Spotify, which changed the way they do run ads during your podcast. That's the downside of things, but you could go there. If you're just publishing it locally, you could use any of the video creators such as WeVideo, such as Google Vids, Canva Video, and you could just post it to a Google site or a Canva website. It doesn't need to be something that goes to Spotify, Amazon Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, anything like that. You could just put it on a regular website. And you could also upload it to YouTube. And then the students can see how many clicks they get, which they're really after as well. All right, so that's going to do it for February. Let's get into March. And there are several, but there's going to be a couple that probably stick out to people. For lifestyle and education, it's National Nutrition Month, National Reading Month, Health and Wellness, it's National Kidney Month, Brain Injury Awareness Month, and then Culture and History is Women's History Month and Irish American Heritage Month.
Oh, cool. We went with another one of the big ones here. Women's History Month is the most well-known, and that was our selection for the episode. The project idea is called Future Me Interview, where students identify I went with like a living person, but it wouldn't have to be. Obviously, you could change this to however you want to do it. But a female community member or somebody in a professional field. I thought it would be super cool if you went local. Could keep it very local even, just depending how you wanted this to work. But the students get assigned this figure and they develop a list of interview questions. If possible, if you did keep it local, maybe even within the school building, you could actually have them do these interviews. Obviously then from the teacher side, it gets way more complicated because you've got to facilitate all of that stuff. So this could be a lot, but it could you wouldn't have to do that. It could just be the act of the interview questions. But they conduct a brief interview and then put together like a little bit of a biography based on that thing. The cool part of this is the extension at the end of it, and this is what maybe separates it from just like doing an interview. The students have to think and write about, at the conclusion of this, what their life would look like if they stopped at that point and followed in the footsteps of the individual they interviewed or that they would interview. For example, if I, was assigned Marie Curie as like a historical non-living figure, I'd have to research about her. What would my life be like if I did what Marie Curie did? So this does two things. One, it requires the students to actually know what that figure did. And two, it's going to require me to apply it to me in my life and make it real and interesting. I thought for this it'd be cool to turn the interviews into a blog post. If you've got any like free website creator, like you could just go Google Sites, give each kid a sub page, and ask them to write up a blog with their interview and the responses and the speculative part at the end of it. Might be a cool thing. And if it's a website, you could post those, publish them, share them, make it even more real than it was anyway.
Yeah, I also like the idea of making a fake social media page for each one of these people.
That's cool.
I remember in 3rd or 4th grade, I was absent when everyone chose their person to do research on. And when I came back, the teacher gave me Clara Barton, and I was just like, not the one that I would have chose.
Right.
But I was glad that I got it because to this day, I remember that project. So it has had an impact on me. If you don't know who Clara Barton is, she was one of the main founders of the Red Cross.
Oh, right.
And I don't know if this has anything to do with it, but if my wife and I would have had a girl, we had 3 boys, our name for the girl was Clara.
There you go.
I don't know if that's where it came from.
I bet it is. Somewhere deep in your mind. That's the connection.
Well, I'm a big fan of Clara Barton. So I put in here for a tech extension, Wavosity. It's like Audacity, but Audacity is a audio editor that is free. It's awesome. It does a really nice job. We use it to edit our podcast. Wavosity is the Chromebook version of that. So you can actually, if you have a microphone that you could plug into your Chromebook, you could use that for the interview, and it will record right into Wavosity, and then you can edit it very, very quickly. There are some limitations of it. For example, say you're working on editing that audio file. If you do not get done with it, you're going to have to download it to the point that you got that day and then upload and start from that point the next day. So there's going to be a lot of different files there. For very short projects under 5 minutes, though, I would not shy away from using Wavosity. So that is definitely a solid EdTech tool that you could use there. Let's get into April. I have a feeling I know which one that you picked here.
Yep.
But we're going to still read off some different choices. Health and Society, you have Sexual Assault Awareness Month, Child Abuse Prevention Month, Autism Acceptance Month, Environment and Science, Earth Month, National Citizen Science Month, and Arts and Education, National Poetry Month, Financial Literacy Month.
We went with the big one here as well, Earth Month, of course. Everybody thinks of that when they think of April. The project idea here is called the Trash to Treasure Fashion Show. It is what it sounds like. Students design and ideally actually do the fashion show itself, where they create and wear a piece of wearable art made from recycled materials. You obviously be smart and careful with the things you're actually having them cut and work with and eventually put on their bodies. But newspaper, cardboard, plastic that's been washed is probably fine for this. So they build it, they walk it, and I think kids would have a blast with this. Definitely younger kids. I know I'm picturing my daughter, she would love it. Even the older kids, I make the AP Chem kids do like a chemist dress-up challenge out of recycled materials. It's like their favorite day of the year. And it emphasizes, obviously, what it emphasizes. The tech extension could be photographing the outfits that are created and then using some cool Canva templates to make some fake social media posts, maybe real social media posts if you want to go down that road. But, that's Canva's bread and butter, and I think you could get some really cool looking products here. I think the kids would have a blast posing and doing this whole project.
I have very little to say on this one. I am the least fashionable person in the world. Very bland. It's okay. I've accepted it, but it comes with the territory of myself and how it was made up. So, but anyway, I would probably do like a blazer, Mentos wrappers maybe.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Love it.
So do some science experiments with the Mentos and the Coca-Cola, and then put it right on to a blazer. See what happens. All right, let's get into May. Some of the ones for May. Culture and Identity is Asian American Month, Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, Jewish American Heritage Month. Health and Mental Wellness is Mental Health Awareness Month, National Arthritis Awareness Month, Stroke Awareness Month, Skin Cancer Awareness Month. Industry and Safety is National Bike Month, Motorcycle Safety Awareness Month.
And we went with Mental Health Awareness Month. The project is called the Classroom Zen Den, where as a group, students get to design a physical, calming corner, calm down space, you name it. There's like 100 different names for these sorts of things. Usually the teacher is the one to put this together for the classroom, but here the kids can curate it. I was thinking they could each be assigned different types of activities, some tech, some non-tech. Maybe there's a playlist group. Maybe there's a fidget tool group. Maybe there's a guided breathing group, or different prompts that people can use to help calm down and relax or just play. Maybe there's an art group where there's some creative doodling, just like whatever you think would work in your space. Make it real, even more real than it is because of the month connection, but the kids have to present all of their creation to administration. Maybe the pitch would be, we're going to try to get this done as like an actual school-wide calm down place. I think that would be fun to do in May because the year's starting to wind down, so it might be something a little different for the kids to engage in. We didn't really do a tech extension here necessarily because it kind of takes care of itself, and that the kids are going to be required to find the tech to help as at least some of the options. I don't know if you have any thoughts for the tech side.
Yeah, maybe show them an example of some type of meditation or some type of exercise. You can go onto the app called Calm, which I linked in the show notes. They have a lot of good ones. There are also some good YouTube channels that you can also use. All right, let's get into June. Here are some of the possible topics. For culture and identity, you have the LGBTQ plus Pride Month, Caribbean American Heritage Month. Health and Safety, you have National Safety Month, Men's Health Month, Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month, National Cataract Awareness Month. In the environment, you have the Great Outdoors Month and National Rivers Month.
And we went with the other big one here, obviously, for June, which is Pride Month. This project idea is called the Identity Quilt, where every student gets a piece of something like a square. I was just thinking square to keep it easy. You want to keep it easy, make it a paper square so you're not worrying about like actually quilting. If you know how to do that, I guess you could. I don't know how to do that, so I'm going to keep it paper, but it's like their square that they get to decorate with whatever they want. Really, that's kind of the beautiful part about Pride Month, right? So whatever symbols, colors, words that represent their own unique identity, just really make it their space. And I think you can probably all see where this is going, right? It's the identity quilt, so you bring them all together and to make one larger thing. The whole idea being that every student is a piece of this larger thing. So you tape them together, tie them together, whatever, and you get this massive inclusive wall display. I would try to get this thing displayed out somewhere in the school. If the whole point of this episode is to make things seem real and applicable, then that would do it. As such, I didn't really think of a tech extension for this because to me this is like purely a physical real life project. I don't know if you've got any ideas here. Maybe some of these might be okay to leave totally sans tech.
I do.
Okay.
But I'm also going to change the quilt into a jigsaw puzzle.
Oh, that's cool.
Because you were talking about how everyone has a piece of, the puzzle or the quilt. So you could do a digital jigsaw puzzle. What you do is you make the jigsaw puzzle and then you blow it up to whatever size you want. And there'll be different shapes and sizes, but you'll still be able to share out that puzzle. You'll print it out, cut it out, and then you could just give those pieces of paper to the students. They could design their different shapes however they want, and you put it together, and it makes this overall big puzzle that you could frame or do whatever you want with. So I put Jigsaw Make as my tool there to do that, and I think that's going to wrap us up.
Yeah, see everybody, that's why we keep guys around, because that's an awesome idea, and I wish I had done that from the beginning, because I think it's better. The quilt's kind of like a standard thing, but the jigsaw maker just brings it to the next level. We're going to wrap it up quick, because this ended up being longer than we usually like to keep them for the summer, but I think that's okay, because there's so many cool ideas here. Hopefully you've at least been inspired to tie in a National Heritage or Awareness Month for one of your school projects for the coming year. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening to the EdTech Throwdown. Do us a couple of favors. Subscribe to our podcast on any major podcast catcher such as Apple, Spotify, Amazon Podcasts, and Stitcher. Go over to YouTube, search the EdTech Throwdown, subscribe to the channel. You can connect with us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. The show's handle is EdTech Throwdown. You can connect with Geis at GeisGotTech, Nick at NickGotTech. You could write us an Apple Podcast review. You could tell your friends about www.edtechthrowdown.com. And lastly, go over and check out our friends over at the Teach Better Podcast Network, a network that we are so proudly involved with. Until next time, remember, go try some EdTech because we will do the research so you can teach your class.